Do you wonder what it takes to make a woman totally obsessed with you, no matter how long you've been together for? Most men think it's totally impossible, but I've spent a decade researching female behavior, and I've worked with over 200 clients who went from no sex to frequent passionate sex and a deeper connection with their partner. And in this video, I'll break down the secret method that I teach my clients so that you can give your woman exactly what she needs so that she can never get enough of you. First of all, the reason why a woman loses attraction over time is because you don't give her what turns her on. And to make it simple to understand what she needs, I've developed the Aphrodite decoder, which categorizes women into 5 different color types, and each color represents her default way of loving, connecting, and what she needs to get turned on. So what are the 5 color types? We have first the reds, which I call Jessica the boss babe, the golds, which I call Marie the ambitious lover, orange, which stands for Tiffany the throat machine, blue, which stands for Kathy, the healer. Purple, I called Olivia, the hopeless romantic. Now what I'm going to do is I'll give you a couple of typical everyday situations to show you how the same behavior that you do can either build or destroy attraction depending on her color. So let's take Olivia, she's purple, right? And she comes home from work and she says this: my boss is such a bitch, she wants me to stay until 9 p.m. from now on to move stupid PowerPoint slides around. And you respond with like, oh, why don't you quit? You wanted to go work in private equity for a long time anyways. And then she responds with, oh, you don't get me. And you're sitting there and ask yourself, what the fuck? Now imagine the following. Jessica, who's red, comes home from work and says this, the exact same thing. My boss is such a bitch. She wants me to stay until 9 p.m. from now on to move stupid PowerPoint slides around, right? And then you respond with, why don't you quit? You want to go work in private equity for a long time anyway. And she says, you know what? You're right. I think it's the sign I needed. Great. You two bonding now. So how come you have 2 different outcomes for the exact same situation and response? Because purple and red have different needs. And this is the exact reason why so many men lose attraction in relationships. It's not that you're a bad husband or a bad boyfriend. It's that you keep giving her what you think she needs instead of what her color type actually craves and what she actually needs. So let's break down what these 5 color types actually need. So let's start with Jessica. So Jessica is the red, right? And I want you to think of her as the boss babe. And you can think of Black Widow, right, from Marvel. So Jessica is the boss babe. She's independent, assertive, analytical. She typically works in like hyper-competitive environments like investment banking, consulting, or leadership positions, right? So if your partner works in those positions, that's the first hint that she's most likely a red, a Jessica. So because she's so assertive and independent, she needs a man who's also similar in leadership skills. So she loves when you lead the relationship with a vision and you had the balls to pull this also off, right? So you don't dream big only, you also act big. So she's ambitious, and because of that, she will want you to be equally, if not more ambitious actually. So if you start slacking, becoming a couch potato like Homer Simpson, putting on weight or putting her above your purpose, she's going to communicate that. She's going to criticize you, she's going to make all the decisions for you, and she's going to make you feel she is your boss. She's going to whip you. And she will only surrender back into her soft energy and be feminine around you when you've proven to her again that you are a leader, a winner. So my partner Sandra, for instance, at her core, she's a Jessica, like 60%, right? So she gets totally wet when I ask her, for instance, to help me build complex models for coaching programs. So she's like a total nerd, hyper analytical. So she loves working on spreadsheets. She loves very much like adrenaline. And so the everyday things to make her, or like a Jessica, a typical Jessica, soften up is, aside from leading, is by being ambitious, as I said. So you have to have a strong sense of purpose. You have to work hard on your career or your business. So you have to also plan date nights, make decisions for you too, but also involve her, like ask her for advice, not for permission. She also likes direct communication and hates it when you beat around the bush. So she bonds by doing things together and also doing challenges together as a couple. So that could be, for instance, high rocks or marathon runs, right? Or play paddle, because she's competitive. So next we have the gold, Marie, which is the ambitious lover. So think of Marie like Giselle Bündchen, right? She's elegant, nurturing, and soft, but don't mistake her softness for weakness, right? She's ambitious, driven, and has very high standards for herself and her man. So somewhat similar to Jessica, but there's the difference. I'm going to explain it in a second. So she will most likely work in HR, account management, teacher, or anything to do with nutrition, right? Or like something creative. And her 2 deepest needs are emotional safety and leadership. So she craves a man who's both emotionally regulated and empathetic, and someone who can mirror her feelings and understands her deepest fears fundamentally. Yeah? So how do you give her that in the daily life? So when she complains about her boss, for instance, in the scenario that we've seen earlier, don't jump straight into problem solving like you would with the Jessica, right? Instead, you mirror back her feelings and emotions first. You can say like, hey, this sounds frustrating. Do you want a hug? Do you want advice? This shows her that you value her feelings before giving her solutions. Because she is still analytical like Jessica, but she's a bit softer, so that's why she needs the feelings and the analysis. Because she's so ambitious, she most likely will be stressed from overworking, because she's going to push herself very hard. So leadership with her looks just a little bit different than compared to Jessica. So leadership could be like telling her to slow down. Hey, Marie, shut the laptop, right? Let's order some food together. Let's relax tonight. And yeah, she feels cared for when you take the lead without dismissing her effort, right? So as I said, she can be a bit of an overthinker because she's very in tune with her emotions. And you can also lead her out of this by offering her advice. For example, when she's struggling with food, like, oh, here are the two best options. I would go with this one. How does this feel for you? That balances her need for logic with your leadership. And in the bedroom, unlike Jessica, who likes it quite rough, Marie doesn't want you to just be rough or detached, right? She thrives when sex is a bit of gentle and rough, almost like an interval run. Kissing her slowly on the neck, holding eye contact, and she also likes deep breaths together in the bedroom. Does enjoy dirty talk in the bedroom, but not as much as the next color actually. The next one is a bit of a wild one, which is Tiffany, which represents orange, right? So think of Heidi Klum. She's really into adventure, playful banter, and anything that gives her an emotional spike. So she will most likely work in creative industries, a flight attendant, or nurse, or executive assistant. So how do you turn Tiffany on? So keep things fun, tease a lot, and be adventurous. So don't be too logical or too heavy with your emotions, right? A lot of clients, or a few of my clients, are with Tiffany's, and they become too soft and gentle. Tiffany pulls back and starts teasing them. Why? Because she connects via laughter and like banter, and she needs some assertiveness. So the best way to connect to her on a deeper level is to tickle her, to pick her up, spin her around, and like she really thrives on those little bursts of adventure and play. Like she wants a relationship that's more like a playground rather than a library. When she's clumsy, you can say, oh, pretty and clumsy, what a catch, right? Or tease her when she drops something like, oh, careful, troublemaker, can't fucking take you anywhere. So fundamentally, just be a little bit more cocky around her, because that banter keeps her hooked way more than this deep, serious talk does. And I mean, in the bedroom, she's pretty much the kinkiest woman you'll ever meet, right? She likes to explore everything, tie her up, pull her hair back. She likes it rough. She'll be very open about her sexuality, and she expects you to be too. You'll totally turn her off when you go too deep in bed with her. And by that, I mean, it's not a pun, yeah? But when you just start yapping about like deeper stuff. By the way, man, what you're seeing here is just a small piece of my Hercules method, right? My coaching program. So if you're tired of attraction dying in your relationship, and if you want your partner to stay loyal, feminine, totally obsessed with you, not just for now, but for life, you can book a call with me directly, and yeah, to apply for my exclusive program, and the link is in the description. So the next color is blue and is represented by Katie, the healer. So my ex Katie was actually a Katie, right? I know it's a bit weird. So she was a bit flowy, soft-spoken, and deeply connected to spirituality, right? And I mean, like, she'll be drawn to healing, crystals, energy, all that kind of stuff. And she brings that nurturing energy into her relationships. And her true deepest needs are connection and emotional safety. Now, how do you turn her on? How do you make her stay loyal? You open her up emotionally. So my ex Katie loved it when I talked about how I felt, like not from a kind of weak point of view, but more not like how I can't do this anymore, but more so from a point of like strength. Like, hey Katie, I fucking hate my job. Can you help me relax a bit? Like, I'm super tense. Can you give me a massage? That's kind of a bit for connection, and it allows her to support you, which she loves. That totally turns her on. Katie is also very intense when it comes to vulnerability. She doesn't really care much about like fancy trips, fancy restaurants, but more so deep conversations about love, your deepest fears, your regrets, right? And she can be extremely sexual with you. Like, once she trusts you and feels connected, she's extremely loyal as well. And Katie and I broke up because I wasn't compatible with that kind of relationship, right? I hate waking up next to like 300 fucking crystals, man. So last color is purple, which represents Olivia. Olivia is quiet, deep, and extremely loving, but also highly sensitive. So she feels everything, but unfortunately often a bit too much sometimes, right? So if you've watched Marvel, Olivia is how Scarlet the Witch behaved around Vision, right? And her deepest needs are connection and emotional safety. And how do you give her that? Very simple, like, because she's so sensitive, don't dismiss her feelings as too much or being drama and too like irrational. You have to validate her, you have to dream with her, and you have to also make her feel safe. She can be a little kind of kid around you, like a little princess. So for instance, with my ex Sarah, when I cross the street, I always put my hand like on her chest, as if I'm like making sure that she's not stepping carelessly on the street. I always like carried the heavy stuff and stuff like that. But the downside is that when I didn't pay attention, she literally just walked around like a toddler. The amount of times I literally lost her is unbelievable, man. It's also kind of cute, isn't it? And also what's super cute for them is like she loves a kiss to the forehead, right? Because it makes her feel protected. The biggest obstacle stopping you from showing up the right way is actually when you're stuck in nice guy mode, in Kevin mode, as I say. So if you don't fix those nice guy habits, she will never fully respect you, no matter how well you read her color. That's why in the next video, I'm breaking down the 5 brutal relationship lessons every nice guy has to learn so that you can kill that energy for good and become the man she stays obsessed with.